Hi and welcome back to the best thing you watched. Got Chris from Movies and Munchies, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. If this is you've been here many times with us, thank you. And if you're joining us for the first time, you're most welcome. The general formula is we talk about the best things that we watch. Some weeks that's more difficult than others, and I think this week might be more trickier because some weeks there's a lot of poo in between the weeks, and so we find things to talk about. Some weeks the videos are going to be shorter because of that, but we'll see. We also do movie quote quiz, which Chris is doing at the moment, and I do a question. That's kind of the formula for the video segment and the beginnings of the audio segment. When we get into the audio only bit, wherever you listen to podcasts, we do an exclusive review there, as well as entertainment news and what we're looking forward to in the coming weeks. And then to top it all off, we also have a Patreon, which this week it's going to be pitching sequels to movies that don't need sequels to. So Chris and I have both got one that we're going to pitch to. So it's one of those that never do a sequel to that movie. That's like, please don't touch that. We're touching that with a pitch that, yeah, I know, it's sacrilege. So that's the sort of fun that we have on Patreon. It's very, like, if you want to join us, it will help us immensely to keep continuing being creative and, further projects. Like recently we went and saw each other. I went over to America and we did some videos together, and that's, those sort of expenses that helps us. So if you want to see more of the shenanigans that we get up to, then that's where it could help. But your googly eyes right now is helping us immensely. Thank you so much for enjoying this with us as we talk about the best thing that we watched this week. And I think it's going to be a good one. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I love your enthusiasm and your positiveness despite the viewing week that we've had. Yes, yeah. Exactly. Oh man. Yeah, no, it has been a week, but that's okay. We're going to push through. I think we've both found a few things that have bubbled to the top, or we've made them bubble to the top.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's the best thing of the week that we've seen. So they may not necessarily be great either. Like other weeks when there was other stuff coming out, we may have not even talked about these. But because this is what we have, this is what I have to give.
Exactly. Oh, well, before we get into that, let's talk about the movie quote quiz.
Yeah.
So last week, nobody got all three.
Correct.
Which I was a little surprised by.
Because you thought it was an easy one.
I thought these were mainstream-ish movies. But Nostromo got 2 out of the 3. So Congratulations there. Maybe they were just a little too obscure. Maybe it's just like you know the quote, but you can't place the movie.
Yeah,
that's understandable. I get that because I there's plenty of those. Where you hear it and you're like, crap. So anyway, the answers for last week were "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead," "Hot Fuzz,"
yes,
and then "Role Models."
Oh, Role Models. That's an old one. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I definitely got the middle one, and I was guessing on the first one, which is also an old one, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old one too. Yeah. So, okay. Are we ready for this week?
Yes. But I do have a question first.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes. And this is, it actually comes from Kirsten, because I was like, I don't have a question. I don't know what to ask. I'm running out of good questions to ask. She said, how about this? And so my wife is basically saying, because we play the lottery, if you ever won the lottery and it was a large amount, let's say in UK, it's like 100 million pounds. That would convert to what, 140, 150 million dollars?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the laws I know in the US are different because you get so much tax on you, but you basically get to keep that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So would you tell anybody that you won?
No. I mean, there's the that meme where it's like, I wouldn't tell anybody, but there would be signs.
I've now bought this island.
Yes. It was funny. I was actually talking with my boss about this last week, and it would be like, you know what? There's no notice. I'm calling in rich that day. I'm like, you know what? It has been fun. I love my job, but I'm not coming back ever.
Okay, to double down on that, just because we do what we do, would you still do what you do right now, as in YouTube?
Totally. Totally.
See, that's,
and I would.
that says that you love it. And then you could build yourself a studio. I think we'd probably do the same thing. Yeah. And
because then it would allow the freedom and the time without any outside pressure of I could also focus on the aspects of the channel that I want to do that I just don't have time to do right now. I think that would be
that'd be awesome.
The fun thing. Would you tell anybody?
No. I think the people that are closest to us, we would gift. I would love to do things like buy my parents' mortgage. You pay for that, buy for the house. Yeah. And set up my kids for, you do all that sort of thing. And then the closest things that you talk about, like each other's extended family that you're close to, you want to look after, and even maybe not even tell them, but they would figure out, so probably like when you've bought a house and moved to blah blah blah, and they were like, hey, did you give us this? And I'm like, no, somebody else gave us also this. I'd love to do it anonymously if possible, because money does make people weird, and especially with family, right? And then you get investors and people. It's like, please join this cause and join this cause, and suddenly you can be the ambassador for this cause. Don't you want to? You can change the will because you have money. And you're like, yeah, I'm probably going to invest in smart things that will help the world and help my family for like future generations. But yeah, I think the smart decision is probably not telling anybody, because you see people that tell people, and you see their lives. Like somehow they lose all the 100 million. You're like, are you serious?
Yeah. Well, and we started looking up some of the tax laws for the U.S. and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, there are taxes upon taxes, and so what you actually walk away with if you take the lump sum is stupid.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about this when I was visiting. Yeah. And I was just like, what's the point of winning? It's like they take more than half. It's like 3/4. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you figure I'm much better off than I was beforehand.
Sure. But you feel like stolen from, right?
Yeah. The whole, I mean, they really should advertise, which would be completely counter to getting people to buy tickets.
Nobody would buy then, would they?
No. Well, the grand prize is $100 million. What you actually get if you take the lump sum is 15.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Where's that? How does that work? Because basically we win every time you win. We get the money back.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a great scheme when you think about it.
It's a very good scheme.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodness.
Let us know in the comments, what would you do? Maybe let us know, would you give to your family, or are you the type of person that would give anonymously? Or would you be like, I'm building myself a fort underneath the ground, and then I'm going to say, hey, I want this money, and then disappear?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Are you ready for this week's movie quiz?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it to us, Chris.
All right. Number 1. Impossible, madam. Snakes, as you know, live in mortal fear of tile.
What the hell is that? I know that.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
Not new, though.
Not new, no.
Not recent.
Yeah, no. My mind flashed to an era, which I think it is. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. You will wear a Nope, let me start over. I was trying to do the voice because the voice is in my head, and I can't do the voice, and so I just need to not do the voice.
Okay.
You will wear a jacket and tie. If you don't have one, buy one. Can't afford one? Borrow one from your old man. Don't have an old man? Find a drunk and trade for his. Because I guarantee you, there ain't a bum on the street that looks as raggedy and ridiculous as what I'm looking at.
Great quote. Also not new, right?
No. Gosh, it's probably much older than I want to admit that it is.
Yeah. Okay.
The last one. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
I might know that one. Definitely don't know the first two, but I can guess as to like what type of movie and what era they're in. Okay. Let us know in the comments. See if you can get Chris's 3 quote quiz, and let me know if you've had enough of how difficult they are, and we can fire him. I know a guy.
Yes, yes, I know a guy too. Yes. Hey, I'm gonna leave you with a bonus question that I saw this week.
Nice.
We don't have to answer it. This is something that you could noodle, or maybe just will disturb your dreams or something like that.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Which would you rather find in your attic? 1,000 roaches or a person?
I mean, there's parameters there that you need to set. Like, what type of person?
Nope. Nope.
Any person? Can I say who the person is?
No. And you don't get to determine if they're alive or dead. Oh goodness.
If they're dead, I would choose roaches, because roaches you can get an exterminator and you could kind of deal with. But a dead person you could go to jail for. They'll never believe. Like, I don't know who put the dead body in my loft. In my attic.
You might even have roaches because of the dead person.
Right. Yeah. But also roaches.
So
you can't kill them.
Yeah. No.
They don't die.
No.
Like bacterial roaches, the thing that survives after nuclear. It's that saying. After nuclear,
with Twinkies.
Yeah, exactly, with Twinkies. They're probably eating the Twinkies, yeah.
Yes. Oh, man. All right.
Okay.
Enough ridiculousness. What do you say?
Yes.
Hop into the best thing for this week that we watched?
Let's try. Okay.
Cool. What's on your list?
Okay, I got sent a film that you spoke about a few months ago, but I think that it was late here in the UK. And so this was the first time watch for me. So I watched it with Kay, because it actually arrived today. It was nice so that I could be in time to watch this, because otherwise I really didn't have much else to talk about. But Bones and All is now on physical media, and it's a Blu-ray. So it comes with the DVD and the Blu-ray. The special features are lacking. I thought it has like a look inside the vision of Bones and All. Meet Lee, meet Karen, but they're like a minute each, and then they repeat some of the stuff that's in each of them. So I felt a little bit cheated with the special features, if I'm honest. And then I'm seeing all these 5 stars: The Observer 5 stars, Sunday Times, The Independent, The Guardian, Financial Times, The Upcoming, Culture, Whisper, Discussing Film, and the list goes on. So everybody classes this as like the best film they've ever seen, 5 stars all the way. I have a major issue with the film making in this, like the actual camera work. I was like, are you serious? There's a shot where there's the back of a Jeep in the buggy and they're driving down the street and it's like this. And they obviously wanted to mimic what they were going through. So the camera's like this. And they're like, I was so dizzy, I could barely like hold my brain to go, okay, what's going on? I couldn't hear what they were saying. And there's a couple other times they do that jostling of like the running. And I was like, I don't get that. He also breaks the 180 rule. There's this shot where the girl, our female protagonist, she's meeting someone of importance for the first time, because I'm guessing some people haven't seen the film Bones and All. We'll get into that in a bit, in all the positives, getting the negatives out the way. So she meets someone of importance, and it's like a street shot, and you've seen this guy take out a toothpick, and he's chewing and he's saying something. Incredible actor. Every time he's on screen, I love him. He's brilliant. But then the camera swivels round to a side point, which breaks the 180 rule. So you're this way, you're looking at the person, and then it swirls around this way. It should have gone the other direction. I think it's done on purpose to make you uncomfortable, because the whole idea of the film is to make you feel uncomfortable all the time. Even when it's a romantic journey, it's a love story, but it's also a sort of thriller horror ride. And it has it all mixed in. Very different. So that would be my positives of it. It's probably one of the most unique stories I've seen, certainly.
Yeah.
You have Tyler Russell, Timothy Chalamet, and Mark Rylance. And I love the two protagonists, but Mark Rylance, flipping heck, menacing.
He's really good.
Like every time he's on screen, you kind of, you feel like he just needs a friend, like he's super lonely, and yet you don't want to be anywhere near him.
There's something not right with that dude.
I didn't like the ending because I didn't really understand it. Like, I didn't understand what they were trying to say. Did she do that thing then, and then they went backwards in time, or did that not happen and somehow that person survived and they went back to a place? It's hard to say without spoiling.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. And I took it to be the end then is just her vision.
Right. Yeah. That's what I figured, but it just like a little and what's the word?
Sure.
Ambiguous.
Ambiguous. I was putting an extra syllable in there.
Yeah. Nice.
So had you seen any trailers or anything before going in?
No, but I remembered you talking about it. So I did, but it does kind of give it away because it's very early on. You see her, like she goes to the house.
The slumber party?
Yes, the slumber party. And from there on, I'm like, cool. All right then.
Well, see, that was the part that my youngest son who went to the screening with me, he had seen the trailer. And so he's like, watching me. You. Yeah. Because he knew that I hadn't seen it and he knew what was coming up. And like, so for me, the emotion and the setup of that scene is wildly different in an instant. Yes. You know, it starts off, it's very sensual and you think it's going one way and then it's like...
I totally thought it was going... Because both my wife and I looked at each other and we went, oh, she's like that. Cool. Let's, we don't know anything about it, but she's been invited. She snuck out of the house sort of thing. Classic setup, romantic lighting, mood setting. And then the just pivots 90 degrees. You're like... All right, then, that's this movie.
I was not expecting that, and I was not ready for that. Let me try and figure out how I feel about this. Yeah, I don't think it was the greatest movie of all time. I don't even think it was the greatest movie of 2022. I did like it a lot. So
I like it because of its ballsiness. It's different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more that I had thought about it, like it stuck with me a little bit more. You know, as I chewed on it and stuff.
It's definitely a mind messer. You think about it. You think about, because really it's about a disease. That's how it stuck with me. And so if you have this thing that's a disease, then how would you deal with that? And could you judge them for it? Not really. If that's the what they're doing seems to be wrong, but is it though? If that's the thing that you survive with? Like, that's you? Yeah. I don't know. There were questions I wanted answered, like, have you tried this? Right? Instead, because you never really established any of that law. If it's this thing you need, why can't you try this thing? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But very interesting. Very, very interesting. Cinematography, beautifully filmed. Apart from the shaky cam that just pissed me off. And the rule breaking, which is just a thing that was taught in my mind that you don't do. But I understand why they did it. Like, I get it. But yeah, beautifully shot, uncomfortably close shots a lot of the time. Most of the time you want to see what's going on with the person next to you, but you will often be like full face or a little bit of shoulders, or really like even just cutting out the eyes, which is so unusual. Like, the shots in this made me uncomfortable. I wanted to throttle the cameraman or the cinematographer or the director who's saying, punch in a little bit close, punch in a little bit, no, a little bit more. No, what are you doing? Yeah, a little more.
Are you sure we want to be this close? Yeah, go closer.
You know, in Harry Potter, where the grandmothers come over and she's like, a little bit more. Oh, yes. Oh, a bit more. Yeah. That's how I feel. It was saying to the director was saying to the cinematographer. More, punch it more. Yeah. Anyway,
nice.
What's on your
to see it.
What's on your first list then?
Pathaan. We talked about it a lot last week, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. But I got to see it this week. Dude, what a fun time! We saw it in the in D-Box, which at Cinemark in the U.S. it means the seats move.
That's different, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, there was a point where I was getting a little queasy because you wouldn't notice it, I don't think, in a standard seat that doesn't move. Right. But the camera at times is twisting just slightly and very slowly. And so what happens is our chair was moving a little bit like that to simulate that. dude. And it's not enough where you're like, oh yeah, I'm tilting. It's like, am I tilting? I don't know if I am. Oh, my stomach is kind of.
Yeah. Oh,
that's exactly.
I've just had this large slushy.
Yeah, exactly.
The water in me is like.
Yeah. This was. I mean, it was everything I wanted it to be. You know, it was crazy, over the top action.
Yeah.
I was laughing so many times, not at the movie, but at the movie, because there's so many ridiculous setups in there that if you can't go in and just enjoy an action movie for what the action movie is, you know, if you're going to look at this type of movie and be like, well, that goes against gravity. That would never happen. Well, why are you in this movie? Because
you should not be watching. But do you see what I meant by 90s action James Bond movie?
Totally.
It fits. It's like they never came out of that time, doubled down on it, did MTV music videos with their language, obviously, in big numbers, and just went, yeah, we like this. We're going to stick those two together.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, there were so many different scenes, like the battle on top of the truck through Dubai is just like harrowing and awesome. And I mean, it was so exciting. The best part for me, though, I think, was inside the train.
Oh, the train sequence is brilliant. Yeah.
The one shot, at least it's edited to look like a one shot. Maybe it's not, but the way that the camera goes through the train car and then keeps going back and forth as it turns the camera around. And I mean, in that part of it, like, they're not cutting. And so you get to see all of the hand-to-hand combat and all of that choreography. And it was...
Did you see what I meant by how hard they hit and like the reverberations of the sound? Even when they're just fighting, you like that... And you feel that, like, whoa. They do like using that sound as well. The whoa.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. What I loved when they would fight, I mean, you get the whole jump up to then, crash down and
like
stuff.
Like a Superman punch, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So much fun. I mean, it was everything I wanted it to be. And it also intrigued me for the other movies in this like universe, extended universe type of thing. And then also to see where they go next. I mean, it's kind of like Mission Impossible, even, where you have this... The story itself is fairly generic. I think you have bad guy who wants to do bad thing to the world. You know what I mean?
Like, he's not even that fleshed out. I mean, he's a little bit. I don't mind his backstory, but he is bad guy because I'm wearing the suit, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was charismatic too. Like, like, I enjoyed seeing him on screen. Yeah. As you know what I mean? Like, you root for him too, even though he's the bad guy.
The first time we meet up with him, I thought was great, and I was like, "We're doing this now," but these are two main guys, right? Which I thought was great. I like the setup of that; it was very clever.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mentioned the blade sliding on the blade of the helicopter.
Oh my gosh! Yes, just every bit of choreography that you could, like, they're like, "Can we do this? Yeah, let's try that." Okay, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm like, cool, I'm there. Absolutely. So it is a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. If you've never experienced an Indian movie, this one, the music video that's in the middle where we're introduced to another character, that one, it felt a little more out of place.
That would have been a good intermission.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about some other musical numbers, most of the time, and this one, I'm not saying that this didn't add to the story or explain what's going on, but it really did feel more like an interjection of a music video, because you have costume changes several times. Yeah. And, and like other times you may have one costume change at the end because it's actually transitioning the scene for you during the song. But
if they were showing time passing in the music video bit, then you could excuse the costume changes. But because they just doing it like a music video, in and out, then you just feel like, well, what is this? Did they forget I'm in the movie? I'm watching this movie. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
I was a little surprised by some of the sensuality of it. I don't know why I should be. I mean, it's like a 90s action movie. It didn't show TNA like an American movie would of that time. So, yeah. But anyway, no, it was a fun time. It was good. I do not regret spending the extra money to see it in D-Box for that experience, because that's kind of one of the this is the type of movie that you want to see.
For sure. That sort of action.
Yes.
Nice. So Netflix had another anime series drop this week, which I reviewed. It's called Make My Day. It's on a cold planet of ice and snow. Mysterious creatures suddenly have appeared from the dark underground and have begun to attack the inhabitants. Have you seen the film Starship Troopers?
Yes.
Okay. There was an animated series of Starship Troopers called Roughnecks.
Really?
Yeah, wow. It was like 4 seasons or 4 parts, and it was nominated for an Emmy, so it was written really well. Yeah, it was okay. It was like, at the time when it was released, this is like state-of-the-art 3D. You look at it now and you're like, but back then we were like, woo, yeah, man. I remember watching that with my brother and my father, like an episode before we were to go to school and work. It was a thing that we did, and we were so emotional by the time we left to go to work, because it was often very emotional storytelling. So heavy on the action, but really building characters. And that's what I felt with this series. There's 8 episodes, 20 minutes, very easy to binge. But it's an escape anime. So you have inhabitants on a planet. It's a mixture of guys that are prisoners. They get forced to work like in these labor places to basically earn some years off of their, if they're good, they get some years off of their thing. There is an energy source. It's very Pandora, actually, if you think about it. There's an energy source that they're mining, and then there's these creatures that they wake up during their mining that are attacking them, and that's the story. So if they're so strong, they seem immortal, these weird creatures, so they basically, everybody's trying to escape. Like the whole planet's, it's just chaos, and it's from one episode to the next, you're wondering who's going to survive, as our characters pick up like a team of people along the way. And you are just like, it's literally just non-stop tension. But along the way, they, like the first 2 episodes, they're kind of establishing what's going on, the world, the rules, the regulations, building up a couple of main characters. And then the backstory is like built with dialogue spoken and flashbacks during the action. And it works really well. So by the time you get to the end, you're just like, oh, it's over? Oh, like, give me more. The composer did an excellent job. I just thought he was fantastic. Yeah, voice cast veterans from like Ghost in the Shell, Tekken, so they've really put a lot of effort in it. I know a lot of people are going to have issue with the type of animation. So Netflix did an anime recently called Extinction, which had a 3D CG look to it, and it's weird to look at. This time around, it was weird to look, but it didn't take me like very long to get over that, and just to be drawn into the story and the characters. So once that was done, I was like, yep, cool, I'm there. I think you could do more. There's definitely scope to do much more, but I think it's a very contained story as well, so that if it doesn't ever get picked up, you could have like just a nice story that's wrapped up. Nice.
I was curious about it, more so because the way they formed the letter on it, it always looked like Mako My Day. Yeah. I thought it was about sharks, and so that's cool. I like, as you were talking, I'm trying to, in my head, going back to the whole Starship Troopers thing, because that movie is like cult classic.
Love it.
You know, yeah. But to have an animated series that like punches you in the gut and has such an emotional range to it, that's surprising. Yep. So that's, I mean, I may have to go and see if I can find that someplace. What was it called again?
Yeah, what is the correct name? Starship Troopers. Oh yeah, there it is. Roughneck, Starship Trooper Chronicles.
Okay. Fun.
Yeah. So what's next on your list?
Well, I know you have already seen this because you got to see the entirety of the show, but I'm watching week to week with the drivel that we are, the people, the regular folk, the unprivileged. Holy crap, The Last of Us.
Oh, you're watching. I'm so glad you're talking about this. How far are you up to? Have you watched the first 3?
Yes. So I've been watching it each week. And I've heard from people just like at work, that little small grumblings here or there, or what they've even heard of, like, what, episode 3, it was just filler. Why did they put a filler episode so early on? And I'm like, filler episode? There is so much context and
that's one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen, honestly.
It was so well done. I mean, from a storytelling content or aspect, we have the reason and all of the explanation that goes into what the music genres that were hinted at and briefly mentioned in episode 1, what they mean, right? Or was it episode 2? Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Was the code. What the code is, how that came about. Yeah. And so that part of it, very interesting. I love that we see the parallels between Tess and Frank and Bill and Joel. Tess and Frank are so much more similar. I mean, they're much more feeling, empathetic, still world weary. I mean, they're not just like, nothing's bad, but they're a little more trusting of people because they have, I think, hope in humanity or hope for the future. Whereas Bill and Joel are just kind of like, yeah, people suck. I don't trust anybody. Yeah. And so because we see eye to eye on that, we can see eye to eye on that. I still have my gun and I'm still watching you and I'm still very wary of you. You know what I mean? That whole relationship was just, I mean, it was told in such an engaging and emotional way. I mean, it was just, so we grow with them. And I don't think much of it is obscured until, though, there's a turning point where one thing happens to one of the characters and it goes to black and you think this is what's happened. And then it comes back 10 years later and you're like, oh no, that's not what, oh my gosh. But the thing I think that got me even more is the letter that is left by Bill.
Yeah.
That, that Ellie starts to read and then Joel finishes. And it's just, I love the content of that, the words, the weight that they have, because Bill is writing to Joel talking about Tess and not realizing that who he's really speaking about is Ellie.
Yeah.
And, that progression, you're like, oh, so good. I mean, I love that it's weekly because this is kind of like, this is the event TV, where you go and you sit down with your friends the next day and you're like, oh my gosh, did you watch this? What did you think about this? What did you think about this? Versus, well, no, I'm only on episode 4 because they all dropped just yesterday. How did you get through all 10 episodes?
Yeah, true. Very true.
And so you can't even talk about on the same levels there. But it also pisses me off because I want more now. I'm so impatient, but it's so good. I mean, it really is. We had to, because I had Sundance all last week, we had to watch it on Monday after my, all my Sundance movies were done. And wow. Yeah, I'm in love with the show. I really am. So far it's outstanding. And, I have no idea where it's going. I don't know the trajectory of it because I've not played the games and I've purposely not looked ahead. I don't read the synopses. I stay away from all of the episode trailers because I want every single one of them to be this brand new surprise. And so far it has been each and every time, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. So in the game, there's that the scene in the truck with the porn magazine, that we get that. And then there's a line of dialogue about Bill's orientation, but we don't get the relationship That's not in the game. So this was all fantastically new, but it added so much weight to the story, and the way they built it in, I'm loving that. Like, because they've also done things that make this series really clever, I guess, for filmmaking circumstances. So like, they don't have to wear gas masks and stuff for sports, because instead they've done like the vines are connected to each other, and that's how you wake up the zombies. So they obviously they've done certain things and veered away a little bit. But you've got Neil Druckmann there, the actual creator, right there with the storytellers, the creator of Chernobyl. And so they've worked this really tight mesh, and they've always just said, yeah, the world around that they're living in is fine, but we're character based. So we're doing characters first and foremost. So the ballsiness to do this sort of pacey, gritty, hard hitting, also character driven first 2 episodes, and then just stop. Let's look at these 2 characters and then have Joel and Ellie in that world. I think is genius, because now we have so much more weight to even the Joel character. And because that's why I don't understand the people moaning about, but this just feels like a filler. It's not. It gives so much weight to what Joel has gone on before, the journey he's gone, the people he's met along the way, how people live along the way. So you have these characters like Tess, and even Tess's character is built on, even though she's no longer in the picture because we're like moved away from that character. Trying to be careful, but the characters that Joel and Ellie, I think this is what I said in my review, they are part of the Joel and Ellie's journey, but you still get to meet these other characters, sometimes not for a long time, but you don't mind the characters you meet because they're so interesting and different. Case in point, this episode with the most beautiful love story, heart-wrenching, like nothing else. And how excellent is it that you feel for characters that you've only seen in 1 episode, right?
Yeah, Murray Bartlett and I keep wanting to call him Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman, yeah.
Dude, just, they crushed it. So, yeah.
We've had so many gay comments as well, like keep your gayness off my TV. This is not what the game was. It's like, you haven't played the game if that's what you think. It's in there. That character is gay. It's mentioned a couple of times. If you were as a fan of that, you would know it. And also, stop, put your homophobic card away, please. Jeez.
Yeah. I had a comment that I didn't even respond to, because it was like, I just want to know, are there 2 men kissing? What? I don't even remember. I don't know if they kissed. What does that matter?
It's the story. The story was it's a love story.
It was so good. I was drawn to them. Their characters were so compelling because of their differences, and yet you watch the friendship grow, you watch the love grow, even though we don't see the entirety of their relationship. You get enough context each time before they make a time jump to really become like, wow, this is great. I root for you guys. I want you to go. And I also love just the creativity that they did for how they keep themselves safe in their house and around their neighborhood,
Right.
I mean, because you have that question that kind of rises in if you're not like, I think it's more of a gut question of like, Joel and Ellie, why didn't you stay there for a little bit? But you forget Joel's on a mission. I mean, he's got his own thing that he's trying to get to that's very important to him.
Yeah.
And so, they could have stayed there. They could have been safe. They could have been, but that negates what he's trying to do. So.
And the episodes don't let up, or with the characters that you meet along the way, it's not going to get any easier. It's just, you're in this world now. Enjoy it, but good luck.
Goodness. Okay. I don't want to get attached to anybody. Crap.
I know, it's the worst. Okay. So the last thing on my list of the things I have to talk about is actually a very old movie. I really struggled with content. I've been watching a number of I watched stuff like, I even watched Terminator 3 this week. It was fine. It's not as bad as people say it is. It's not the best one of the bunch, but I enjoyed it. It's fine. Anyway, I'm beginning to think that Ron Howard is one of my favorite directors, because the more I go back to his films, the more I realize, damn, I really do rate your films highly. And like he did a film about One on the Ocean. What was that? I'm gonna kick my butt now. I love his films. Come on,
The
Ruben.
Ocean?
I'm sorry to everybody. Like Ruben doesn't know his films. What was it? So he did Hillbilly Elegy, which wasn't a film that I really liked. Maybe that's why, because there's some that I just don't enjoy. But In the Heart of the Sea, very underrated.
Is that the Chris Hemsworth one?
Is it?
Chris Hemsworth in that?
Yeah, it is. Right? Yeah, you're right. Chris Hemsworth, Cillian Murphy, Tom Holland.
Yeah,
it's basically,
I saw that in theater.
It's basically their version of Moby Dick. It's very slow, but I loved it. I was on the ride. But if you go back to his earlier stuff, my word, I don't think people realize what he's done. I'm just gonna pull it up here quickly. If I say Ron Howard to you, what films come to mind?
Well, Cocoon.
Yeah.
Willow. Yeah. For me, Backdraft and Far and Away.
Okay, so Backdraft is what I'm talking about today.
Oh my gosh.
I went back and watched that because it's on Netflix at the moment. It's one of those films also that you're like, oh, you're in it? Because the film's so old, it has a cast of people that have gone on to do things. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I've totally forgotten that Robert De Niro is one of the main actors in it. Donald Sutherland's in it. Yeah. Obviously, William Baldwin, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Scott Glenn, Rebecca Demoni. Like, the cast is ridiculous. It is the only fire film that I can remember where they made fire look like it was alive, like it was breathing. There are shots in there that Ron Howard somehow managed to do when the fire bubbles and creeps through. They have the sound effects that go with it, where it's breathing and it goes, and then it just stops, and you're like, don't touch that door, don't touch that knob, all the things that the firefighters are willing to do. But there's so much of this film that I've forgotten about. I thought it was about William Baldwin's character, who had he'd gone through some stuff with his father who dies at the beginning. That's the premise. As he comes back trying to be a firefighter, his brother is like the badass Kurt Russell firefighter, but has a issue like with family life because his whole life has just been firefighting. So his brother William Baldwin comes and he tries, he wants to be a firefighter, and I thought that was the story. They're going to go through some stuff. But there's a whole other investigation about someone starting fires, and that's where William and Robert De Niro kind of link up on this investigation, and it just twists, and you're like, well, who's doing this? And it's so real that, like, when you find out why this person's doing it, but in amongst that, you have some of the best score. I've forgotten it was Hans. Of course it's Hans. And then you just have this amazing shots with a living, breathing entity, which is a thing that they lean into in the film. But since then, like, I've seen many other firefighting films, but they've never lent into the thing that's like it's a living entity. It breathes, it moves, has a will of its own. You've got to understand it. And I love that part of it. I thought it was really clever. Surprisingly, really holds up because it's not, it doesn't rely on technology for this. It's fire engines, it's physical sets, and it's fire, and the story is where it drives it. So the oldest thing they have is the broken down lift, and everybody has broken down lifts. So there's not, the fire engines kind of still look the same because they really haven't got the budget to upgrade the fire engines. So it's still,
That's cool. I'm glad that it still holds up. I mean, it's been forever and a day since I've seen that, but yeah, no, I remember loving how the fire was a character within the film, and how it was just, I mean, obviously it's an antagonist, but sometimes it's kind of a neutral antagonist because it's not really, it's doing what it does, versus it's not really the villain in the story, even though it brings about death and destruction. And oh gosh, I'm gonna have to rewatch it. That's
Yeah, so fun, so tense. My son hasn't seen it before, and he walked into the room and he was like trying to ask my wife a question, and then he was there for like 5 minutes, and he was like, "Well, this is intense," and I was like, "Yeah, right, it's great."
Yeah, you should sit down, finish it, because it's really, really good. Yeah. Oh, nice. That's good. Well, my last one is actually, well, it's an older film. It's not nearly as old as Backdraft, though. It's come out within the last, I want to say 10 years. I don't really know now. Tom Hopper, a couple of years ago, made one of the worst movies ever created with cats. That is an unwatchable film. Maybe if you're high, which I think might even make it worse. But before that, he also did another Broadway adaptation, and he did Les Miserables. Oh. And I have been just in the car as I'm driving around or whatever. My Spotify's all over the place, and I was in a mood to listen to soundtracks, and so I put on the original Broadway recording of Les Miserables, which then led me to, well, I want to listen to the movie version soundtrack, so I listened to that.
So the 2012 version, is that the one you're talking about? The one with Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman, yeah. And which then led me to, well, now I want to watch the movie. And so I've been watching it. It wasn't one that I just sat down to watch. It was as a casual type of thing where I put it on, I watch a little bit as I'm doing something, and I just can enjoy it. I have it, we have a tablet in the kitchen. And so while I was making dinner and preparing stuff, I have it playing. And so not only can I hear it, but then I can just watch as I'm, cutting things or whatever, and just totally enveloped in it. And the thing that really, first off, you can say what you want about Russell Crowe. Yeah. Is his singing the greatest within this? No, it's not. But it works, and I like the emotion that's within.
Yeah, I think because his performance, I think that's why the director went with him. Knew that he didn't sing as well as everybody else, perhaps. Still possible, still probably way better than most of us. And it's the emotion, the character that he brings into that role. Yeah,
exactly. Well, the thing, from a filmmaking standpoint, what I just love about this is the shallow depth of field that they use at different times. Now, it's not like Zack Snyder in Army of the Dead, that shallow of depth. But it's very up close. It's very personal in a lot of the songs where we have just face, sometimes head and shoulders, sometimes just like you were talking about with Bones and all, you're just seeing from, eyebrows to mouth. But the thing also that is so beautiful, and that as much as I've seen the stage play, or I've seen the musical multiple times, more than 5, once with the original Broadway cast, nice. Way back in the day. And the thing that you don't get on the stage play is some of the breathy nuance, some of the whisper, some of that cracking emotion, because they have to emote large, because they're, you know what I mean? There's not a camera on them. They're playing to the very back of the auditorium.
Yeah.
This, you hear the, the shaking of the breath, the whisper type of things. And so all of the songs hit so much harder, I think. At least for me, they do. And I just get sucked in every time. I love the whole music. That's why the Broadway play is so popular, and that so well known, is because it has such a great score, such a great, just the words and the lyrics in there. And the movie captures us in such a way that it really sticks to the spirit of what we see, if you've ever seen the stage play. And so it's, devastating, sad, love the theme of forgiveness and redemption that follows throughout.
It's a massive thing in this. I think that's what it resonates with most people. redemption arc, forgiveness. Forgiveness is so powerful, and for them to showcase, and that was a hard thing to forgive, like, in that story. Still, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil, but you understand the vengeance because of what he's gone through. You know, it's hard, it's horrible, but so powerful. It's such a powerful story. I saw the theater version in London many years ago with Kirsten, and I was absolutely blown away by it, like full on tears. It was just an incredible. This is the first time I'd seen the story. I didn't know about it, but I was moved, man. And then many years later, I saw the Hugh Jackman, and I ums and ahhed, just like, do I have such a great memory? Like, could anything? It's like reading the best book and then seeing it adapted, you know, sort of thing. Yeah. But I was so impressed, and like you say, with the breathy nuances, Anne Hathaway got an Oscar for 11 minutes of screen time, and I don't think she could have if that had been the stage play, because, like, again, it was very personal, it's very close. You get to see her emotions, and she didn't have to be loud the whole time. She could be movie rather than theater, which I guess is a positive one aspect that you don't think of, really. It's a really good point. Do you know the number? 64218
24601.
24601. That song, when he's in the rain with the chains and he's pulling, is wow. Yeah.
Well, in the also where he sings with the priest.
Yes,
where it's that
is probably the most emotional scenes ever.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's so many. I mean, in the movie version, the actress, and I believe that she, if I'm not mistaken, that she's actually a Broadway actress first and foremost. But the one who plays Eponine, who sings her song, and it's like, whoa, just, I mean, the powerfulness that comes from her. And if you look at her, she's a little person.
Tiny,
she's very tiny. And so, I mean, just the power that comes from such a small person is phenomenal. Like, wow, and the pureness of her voice, it just shivers. So yeah, it's, anyway, yeah, there you go. That's what I watched.
Nice. Well, cool. That's everything on my list.
Okay. Well, hey, we thank you for joining us. We invite you to check out the audio version, where we're going to talk about a movie that we didn't talk about here. We're also going to cover entertainment news and some of the things that are coming up in the next week that we are excited about or that we feel are noteworthy. You can always tweet at us at Best We Watched. Don't forget about our Patreon opportunity, where for just a few dollars a month, you can help support and offset the cost of the production for this podcast. And, well, you can go there. I mean, the link is in the description, but it's also patreon.com/thebeardedones. And check out our individual YouTube channels, which I guess that's kind of weird because you're already watching it at this point. So Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday, me, Chris, with Movies and Munchies. If you could share, smash that like button. I don't think I've ever actually said that in any of my reviews.
Smash the like button.
Yeah, smashy. Yeah. But also subscribe, share us around. That would be huge. With that, we'll see you next week. All right? Take care.